Katie, look at my Irish friend with a tan. Make it make sense.
Yeah, make it make sense. So your Irish friend with a tan was in Ireland, where the
Mm-hmm.
week I was there, it did not rain and the sun was out, and the local Irish folk were so happy. But the tan did not come from Ireland; it came from Amelia, Amelia Eland,
Amelia Earhart.
Amelia. Amelia Island, Florida. I was down there speaking at the Women in Retail Leadership Conference. So yeah, that's where this is from. And the sun is so strong down there in a
Mm-hmm.
way that it just simply isn't in the Midwest. This is a week old poolside tan.
What's your relationship like with Disney?
I am not a fan.
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
say when I was in Orlando for the Women in Aviation conference, I took myself to Typhoon Lagoon, which is a Disney themed water park, and it was
Mm-hmm.
incredible. But then I was like, you know what? I'm here. I should get myself a ticket to go to the Magic Kingdom. They wanted $272 from me for one day, just
Wow.
me. And I was like, this is just for me. There are people who bring their entire families for multiple days. How is this?
Yeah.
So I get there is so much magic that needs to be funded in the Magic Kingdom, but I was a little taken aback by
Yeah.
that, and how families make that happen for their kiddos or the adult Disney goers who love it.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous, like if I'm going to be an adult in a Disney theme park alone, are people going to be icked out by me? And I was not the only one.
No, I'm sure you weren't. I also, to the listener in Florida, I know Amelia Island and Orlando are not the same place. I just want to say, when you say Florida, I say Disney. That's kind of as someone who's a Midwesterner for life. But good. I'm glad you're back. It's good to have you back for now. We'll be heading to Detroit and Boston this month.
Detroit and Boston,
Where
so
else should we
soon.
go, listener? Let us know, and we'll be there. So we have a few questions to choose from today, and Todd will
How
do
fun.
magnificent editing. In terms of like what did you look at that you loved, or do you want to do all of them?
Oh my gosh.
Do you want me to take the lead and you'll
You
follow?
you take the lead and
Happy
I
to
will
do it.
follow
Here we
today.
go.
First day back to AUA.
Great. Here we go. So, got a question from a corporate trainer in her mid 30s. She lives in Los Angeles, and she is curious about what happens when you go from being a service provider. So she's a corporate trainer. She has clients hire her. She comes in and does her thing, to becoming colleagues. So one of her clients hired her. Um,
Mm.
and how do you do that and have a successful relationship? Like, can that happen, and how?
Mhm.
And navigating that. So the first thing that came to me when I read this question was like, God, what if a client of ours was like, you know what? You're so good at this is how I imagine the conversation goes. You're so good at what you do. Can you come do it in-house for
Mm.
us? And depending on the day as a business owner that I'm having, that's a fantasy and a dream come true.
Or a nightmare.
or, or a nightmare. I guess, to be fair, I mean, we love all of our clients, but yeah. So how do you make that transition is the question. Yeah.
It's
Katie's shaking her head.
there's so many layers to that.
I know.
It's a relational change. It's a relational evolution, and I think I mean, not to put too much of a change management lens on it, but doing some pretty basic practices around one, naming there's going to be a change. And with
Mm-hmm.
change comes uncertainty, trepidation, but also excitement and energy and wanting to make room for all of those things. But when it's an interpersonal change, if we're not careful, it
Mm-hmm.
can really quickly become interpersonal resentment, interpersonal conflict, and wanting to set out to have really clear conversations at the beginning that address not what the work is going to be and what the role is going to be, but talking about how our relationship is going to change and adapt and evolve to meet the needs of the new relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, saying the thing
Hmm.
and checking in on expectations. Speaking pragmatically, I just want to say when you're a contractor, you make the rules.
Hmm.
Again, back to like, depending on the day, fantasy or nightmare. Sometimes that's great. And sometimes an opportunity, I haven't had this experience myself where I've taken an opportunity that's come my way. It's like, I don't want to stop making the rules. I think the biggest change in this new dynamic is that as colleagues, the employer now makes the rules.
Hmm.
And inherent in that, and I don't know if they're like lateral colleagues or like if there's a reporting structure, because that's a whole other thing. But I think a couple questions come up for me. What are the rules? So we
Hmm.
talk a lot on here about, and Katie taught me this, what's rewarded, what's ignored, what is an infraction and disciplined. So that comes up for me because the rules have changed.
Hmm.
The rules have changed.
100%.
Oof. I don't know. I'm grieving a little bit. I don't know why. I'm sure it's a great opportunity. That's my own stuff. That's
You
coming up
thought
for
that.
me.
You
I
just
did.
touched your heart.
I
Yeah.
did.
You're
I
like,
was like,
ooh, I don't want to
oh,
let go of my freedom.
oh my God, that's a thing for us. So that's one thing. And then I also thought about, and I know this person is thinking about this too, like, did they have other clients? Do they get to keep those clients? What's just, again, it's like the rules have changed. What are the rules? and
Hmm.
and appreciating that when someone becomes your employer, like they set that. So I think inherent in that might be some grief for this
Hmm.
person and some relief probably too,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
Um, in terms of practicalities, like how do you make sure that this is a positive change? I feel like you talked about change management. Like, do you think there's any like absolutes that she has to do to make sure it's positive? Can she
Well,
make sure it's positive?
I, I mean, we can never ensure how anyone else shows up or behaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can, if we're being intentional and mindful, we can almost always show up in the ways that are going to make us feel optimistic, energize us, make us feel positive about a change. But we can't guarantee that other person is going to meet us where we're at. And so I hope this person who submitted their question really got some of these answers up front before they decided to make the leap in the first place. And
Mm-hmm.
it's curious because we don't know. Are they colleagues? What is the power differential? Are they in charge? Is someone else in charge of them? And so, Emily, you talked about the kind of the concrete practices and policies for an employer being in charge and what are the rules, but now also what are the rules of engagement for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I could imagine I have clients that text me with questions, sometimes at 9 p.m., sometimes at 7 a.m. And what they know is they will hear from me in 24 hours. Now, if that client becomes my boss,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do I still get 24 hours to respond? Is that something that they've talked about? How do we communicate similarly or differently now that we're in a different environment and that we have different roles and figuring out those communication elements too, and being able to establish boundaries
Mm-hmm.
on both sides, but also agreeing to what those expectations are.
Yeah.
But talk about communication right away, even if it seems silly.
I literally wrote down as you were talking, more communication than you think.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
just kind of, if anything else, let the other person say, like, this is too much, right? But being as transparent upfront as you can be, in part because I think this person's now your employer or your colleague, I also as a contractor get to say, like, I'm not going to do that.
Hmm.
And so being really clear on the expectations of this new role too. And, I'm sure the getting was good. It's like, this person is great. Let's hire her, right? Because she can do all these things. But that still means you do still get to set boundaries, even as an
Hmm.
employee.
Hmm.
So yeah, more communication that is needed. What I would say sort of prescriptively is like, even if you're very familiar with this person, checking in and having a structured meeting every week, here at NewCo, name TBD, we're merging, not news for people. Every week we have a meeting where we go over to-dos and we go over projects and we actually do work in the meeting, and then we leave the meeting and we rate the meeting. And having that structure, I think, don't take for granted the intimacy and the closeness that you have with this person, which it seems like they
Hmm.
do. And be afraid to set some structure. I think the
Yeah,
structure will be really helpful.
agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
great. You want to do another one?
Always.
Okay.
I I
Cool.
mean, it's been a hot minute. Again, there's so much in the hopper to
I know.
that people want to know about.
Let's do one more.
Let's keep going.
Okay. So this question comes from a Chicagoan. Hello, Chicagoan. We can call her Vanessa because that's her name. She
Hey,
runs.
Vanessa.
Hey, Vanessa. Love you, Vanessa. I don't know you. I do know her. I do know Vanessa. Okay. She runs a community. That's amazing. And runs a company that's around mental health and wellness. Love it.
Mm.
It's called Flower Girls Meet. I'm actually going to my first Flower Girls Meet event on June 1st.
Ooh.
And my question is, how do you know when it's time to scale up your business? Because once you have a demand for your services and what you're doing, how do you know that it's time to hire people to help you and to scale up? Wouldn't it be great if I could just be like, this is the moment that you should do it? What comes up for you, Katie? We're going through this with Vanessa.
Yeah,
Fair to
very,
say.
very much so. Very much
Yeah.
so. And my immediate thought is do it before you think you need to do it,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can meet demand as it grows instead of asking people to wait or running yourself down and burning yourself out to the point where you come to hate this thing that you built.
Yeah.
And so it requires some risk tolerance to be able to say, I'm confident in Flower Girls Meet based upon what I'm seeing. I know it's only going up. I'm going to bring on that part time person. I'm going to bring on that full time person. I'm going to take this smart risk because I'm betting on myself. And I know that as soon as I open up the space for more will come. And not in a hippy dippy manifesting way, but the fact that you're asking the question, when do I know if I need to scale? It, it's time.
Yeah. I love that. Like, and the knowing being there and the fear being there, right? Of like,
Hmm.
it's time to scale. Oh shit. How do I do that? How do I take that risk? The other thing that came up for me when you say hire people, the first person I hired, this was 5 years ago. I hired a contractor who's still with me, and Katie. And I still have the video. I recorded a video for Instagram. I still have it. And sometimes it'll come up, right? It reminds me. And I say in the video, I did something really big today. So I was about 3 years into being in business, and it was exactly my friend Tara at the time said, you need to be doing these tasks. And I'm going up. It doesn't have to be up. It could be over.
Mm-hmm.
And right now you're doing these tasks over here also, and that holds you back.
Mm-hmm.
So you won't scale if you don't get help. And I was like, shit. And Tara's great, MBA, McKinsey, blah, 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 got credentials. And she's just an incredible, reasonable person. And so I hired someone, and it
Mm-hmm.
immediately felt fear because it was like, now I really have to hustle. Like, I'm going to have to make money for this person too. So I would say to Vanessa, start with a contractor, start with an hourly opportunity, someone who can take those, like, I don't like to do this and I'm not good at it tasks off your plate. Because did you know, Katie, there are people who are really good at scheduling agendas and doing financial models? Yeah, it's not me. And so
Jill
those people,
James.
Jill James, shout out Jill James. We found someone who is really good at it, and we pay her, right? So start
Mm-hmm.
with that. And then, as you get into the employee conversation, and Jill actually has a lot of great resources on this, when you start thinking about W-2 employees and you start thinking about all the regulations and all of that, that's a bigger conversation. But I would test the waters and try out someone as a part-time contractor to start. See
Mm-hmm.
what happens. How does it feel to let things go? Can you manage someone? Because when it's your thing, it's not easy. Let it go. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? 80% done is better. I'm gonna mess this up so bad. I'm having like a George W. Bush moment. It's like
I'm
80. Well, it's ultimately
done is better than
perfection.
perfect.
Done is better than perfect. Perfection gets in the way of progress.
Yes.
But one of the things I learned as I was going through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program is that one of the main reasons they exist is that it's roughly about 25% of small businesses make it to year 5 of their business. Of that 25%, it's a very small percentage that make it to year 10. And the reason for that is because they stop growing, they stop scaling. And I don't want to. This isn't for inciting fear, but the slogan is if you're not scaling, you're failing, right? And so scaling also doesn't have to be 100x. It can be that one part-time contractor. It can be I am adding one small bell or whistle that's going to improve the client experience, and I know that's going to generate more business. And for folks like me who have built a business in a very organic, steady way, whenever I would hear the word scale, I'm like, not me, not trying to IPO. Like, this conversation does not involve me.
Yep. I was
But
the
it
same.
does. It
Mm-hmm.
does. And it can look different, but as long as it's moving up, it doesn't have to be a sharp spike.
Yeah, and I would offer, Vanessa, if you ever want to like talk about what it looks like or business models or things like that, Katie and I are open to that. I will say I tried scaling it, my business, the way, like the traditional way. And the way I like to think about that is like, it's just bigger. Like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, meaning more clients, more revenue, more. And I will say that I have successfully gotten to a $500,000 business by going deeper with
Mhm.
clients I have. So scaling is maybe a different conversation than like, should I hire someone? But they're very concurrent. There is absolutely no way I could have made a $500,000 without a team.
Mhm.
Zero way. There's just no way to do it. So we should also do like someone should ask us some questions on how to find the right people as an entrepreneur,
Ooh, yeah.
because those
Mhm. Mhm.
contractors, you want to get great talent, but it's also like contractors it can be hard to find when you're not giving them a W-2 opportunity, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
All right. Great question. Anything else you want to add to it before we?
I am excited for Flower Girls Meet, and I want to hear about your experience in June. And I hope I can get an invitation to this one day, Vanessa.
Yeah. Well, Katie, you were going to be I was going to invite you, my plus one.
Oh,
I know.
thank you.
Okay, more offline. But if you're not going, this will come out, I think, after June 1st. Check out Flower Girls Meet. Vanessa's incredible, has an incredible story. And then our previous listener question asker, gosh, we'd love to hear, like, how is it going? You
Yeah.
know, if you want to call and leave us a voicemail, you can do that. Number 773 389 3638. 773 389 3638. Call us. It'd be so great to hear your voice and hear an update. You can also leave a question for us on the website, who'smissingpodcast.com/ask us anything, or you can text us, or you can send us a DM or an email, whatever you want. But we'd love your voice. And if you do call in and we choose your question, we'll let you know and just make sure it's cool that we share your voice with the world. Friend, it's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you too.